These were $40 to $50 billion that did not need to be spent. But like I say, we'll continue to work with them. I think the worst is over. I think, in fact, it will become less of an issue in California and certainly outside of California, but it has been a very, very difficult problem to solve. DeBoe, as I say, DeBoe, about every 5 years we seem to have this particular problem. Of course, this again, and you got the facts on the screen, but this started off with slow pay by the state of Maharashtra, or the Maharashtra State Electric Board, ended up with no pay. We then, of course, went ahead and went through all of the necessary legal actions. We filed political force majeure against the state of Maharashtra and, of course, the Maharashtra State Electric Board. We terminated the contract. We're moving toward arbitration. We have strong contracts. We've been there before. If we have to fight it out on a legal basis, we will. And in fact, if we fight it out on a legal basis, we're convinced we will win. But we've also told the officials in Delhi and in Bombay that we want out. And so do all of the other, both equity financiers and debt financiers in the project. And of course, we're moving down that road. I had some very constructive meetings in Delhi and Bombay about a month ago. We've continued to have dialogue with them since then. We'll probably have meetings even with some high-level representatives of the government within the next 2 weeks. Now, I can't tell you how soon this will happen, but indeed we, Bechtel, GE, 45 international banks, state lending agencies such as the U.S. Export-Import, U.S. OPIC, Japanese Export Bank, Belgium Export Bank, governments of Oman and Abu Dhabi, everybody wants this resolved and wants it resolved quickly. And until it is resolved, there will be very little foreign investment going to India. And indeed, the Indian companies themselves are now finding it difficult in some of their financing, some of their business dealings outside the country. So it is, in fact, a national problem in India, and I'm convinced it will be solved. EBS restructuring, particularly difficult because it's impacted so many employees. But clearly there's been not just a slowdown in the broadband business, there's been a meltdown in the broadband business. That's obviously not unique to Enron. As a matter of fact, Enron's in much better position here than most of the other companies involved in the industry, many of whom have already gone bankrupt. There's been a total meltdown in the whole telecom industry because of broadband and of course, over leverage and a few other problems. This has clearly slowed down development of our business model. We still think our business model is right. It's making progress. I'll share that with you a little later. We, in fact, at least many of us believe that we're going to build a major business here over the next 2 or 3 years. But it is going to take 2 or 3 years longer than we thought. As you know, we reported a $100 million EBIT loss in the second quarter. And we have to cut that to have sustainability. We hope to cut that down to less than $50 million loss by the first quarter and to break even by late next year. And to do that, we have had to redeploy and, yes, lay off about 500 people. Now, about half of those, in fact, have been redeployed, and probably somewhat more than half will stay with the company. That is very painful, but that is very necessary. And we're getting on with it. We're making good progress with changing or scaling it down. And like I say, I think over the next 2 or 3 years, broadband will again be a very exciting business for Enron. And this kind of just talks about going forward. I will say that, out of the 7,000 employees, there are still 2 or 3 of us think we will also develop entertainment on demand. And we'll just see if we can prove that or not. But I think that's still a very exciting opportunity for us, and we're going to pursue it. But clearly, Jim Fallon's done a great job running this. He's done a great job on the intermediation side, and we are building a major intermediation business. All right. I wanted to get those out of the way first because those are a little tougher issues. Now let's go forward to some of the performance, because this is all outstanding. and it's really hard to find the right word to describe it. Second quarter, our net income was up 40%. Our earnings per share were up 32%. And of course, if you look over the last 5 years and forward even to next year, earlier this year we increased our original estimate this year from $1.70 or to $1.75 a share to $1.80. And of course now we've given guidance for about $2.15 next year. So over the past 5 years, including this year, we're having about compound annual growth in our earnings per share of about 20% per year. You can probably put on one hand the number of companies that can say that in American business. If we look at our volumes, they're exploding, actually absolutely exploding. Most recent quarter, just natural gas and power, 64 billion cubic feet equivalents. We are now about 3 times the size of the next largest competitor. If you go back even 18 months to 2 years ago, we were twice as big as the next largest competitor, which in fact in this business, scale and scope are everything. And we have advantages that nobody else in this business have. I always like to say not just a sustainable competitive advantage, but an unassailable competitive advantage unless we shoot ourselves in the foot. And it's getting stronger as we stand here. If we look at the transportation distribution company, we continue to expand our pipelines. I think the ETS total deliveries in the second quarter were 8.7 billion cubic feet a day, about 15% of all of the volumes delivered in this country. Continue to expand our pipelines. Florida Gas is now underway on its 5th expansion, working on a 6th expansion, which they will file later this year. Transwestern has a couple expansions, one to California, one to Phoenix. And of course, first time we've laid a pipeline directly into that fast-growing Phoenix and Arizona market. We have major growth going on Northern Natural Gas pipeline system, primarily driven again by power generation, but other things. But again, it's a very strong pipeline operation. Portland General, again, good earnings and cash flow. Filed a rate case that will kick in the 4th quarter to start offsetting some of the recent power costs. A good electric utility. Obviously, we've already advised it's not a core long-term holding, but it's a good business, and we're going to run it the best we can until in fact we do dispose of it. If we look at the wholesale business, now our largest profit center. If you take total volumes, not just power and gas, 74 billion cubic feet a day equivalents. The total gas market in North America is about a 60 billion cubic foot a day market. So our total volumes are larger than that. Of course, natural gas represents about 25% of our basic energy in this country. Enormous growth, 60% increase in volumes, almost doubling in income before interest and taxes to $802 million. And of course, margins increased slightly. Now those margins can go up and they can go down, as we all know, but it's always nice when they're going up. If we look back over the last 10 years, those margins have averaged about 11 to 12 cents. And that's been one of the great things about this business. If we look at the volumes across the different